except I received this insight about a title called Prisoner of War. The book.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Weekly Dose of Dano TV. I'm super excited to be here with you guys today. Last week, I had to do an event in Vegas on behalf of the E33 television network, but I'm so happy to be back with you guys. I went to Vegas and I had to grab a guest and I had to come back with him. His name is Jon Fondy. When I tell you guys, we're in such a treat for today, man. Jon, I'm going to let you know right now, you're sitting there in the green room, but when I tell you guys, Jon is one of the most humble, nicest guys that, I've ever met. And when I asked him to be on the show, I said, hey, Jon, I just made a quick thing. I said, would you mind coming on the show and talking to the Positivity Posse just to make sure that, you can just help us with some insights or whatever it is that you have to share, whoever needs to hear for today. And he was like, yeah, man, that's no problem. I got you. So I was like, all right, if you don't mind, I just need a little bio from you. And that's what I do for all of my guests. I say, hey, can I get a little bio about you just so I can get to know a little bit more about you? And when I tell you his bio was about this big and it was just full of amazing things that I would have never even thought, because when I tell you guys, Jon is just, you're the man, Jon. I'm going to tell you right now, even before you come on. So we're in for a huge treat and surprise for today. If you're watching this right now, to let me know that you're rocking with me, make sure that you're commenting on the Weekly Dose of Dano page on Facebook so I can see all of your comments. And, we stream on Amazon Fire, Roku, YouTube, all of those good places. But make sure that you're leaving your comments on this actual page, just so if you have any questions for me, if you have any questions for Jon, he can hit you with the insight for today that you need. And if you're watching this as well, you guys already even started it before I could even bring it up. But if you're watching this, drop the hashtag Positivity Posse, just so I know you guys are rocking with me right now, that you're rocking with Jon, and we're spreading all this positive energy going into the weekend. I'm going to show you guys. You guys are just killing it already. Positivity Posse, Positivity Posse, Positivity Posse checking in. That's what I'm talking about. Hello, Jose, you the guy. My man Jose, hello to you. Hello, Denise, to you as well, and everybody else watching and commenting right now. Man, there is just so much to talk about for today, and I just honestly want to get right to it, but you guys already know what we got to do. We got to start with Life's Little Instruction Book. We always start out with this. Well, for the most part, not always. Let me fall back a little bit. For the most part, we start out with this. It's just to give you guys a little tip, reminder on how to live a happy and rewarding life. And just so you guys know, we just always open up and we stop at a random page. I just want to stop right here. Here we go. So we have a couple different ones to choose from. You know what? What did I tell you guys, man? Every time we open up this book, it's always relevant to what we're talking about for today, man. And let me tell you, number 76, that's what we're going to do. If it wants to focus, is right there. Number 76. Choose a charity in your community and support it generously with your time and money. One more time, choose a charity in your community and support it generously with your time and money. Let's get the focus back on here. Amazing. That's what I'm talking about. When I tell you guys, charity is very important. It's a way for you to give back. Maybe if you can't go physically there to donate your time, you can definitely donate your money. But always make sure that you know where the money is going to. I know there's a lot of fake charities out there that they're doing the wrong thing, man. They're putting the money in their pockets and they're pulling the rug from other people and they're robbing blind. So make sure you're doing that. Another reason why I bring up and say that is so important is because John, actually, I had no idea, John, that you have your own charity as well. Man, there's just so much that you do. And like I said, thank you so much for accepting this to be on here for today, man. And we got a lot to get to. So without any further introduction for my man, John, what are you doing, man? Stop producing other television shows. It's time to get on Weekly Dose of Dano. My man, John.
Good to be here. Good to be here in the undisputed entertainment capital of the world, Las Vegas is where we are right now. So special blessings and a special shout out to all the people that are watching this show. You're with the right guy, or the right guy. There you go.
Oh, no, you were right the first time, man. John, wow. Once you sent me that bio, first and foremost, thank you for being here today. But once you sent me that bio, man, I was really blown away just because, like I said earlier, you're such a humble guy. And I would not have anticipated you've done so many wonderful things in your career, whether it comes to producing television shows or actually starring in them. Do you have a preference in what you prefer to do?
I don't. And I'll tell you the reason why. I started out in Hollywood about 40 years ago and started out as an actor and was very successful as an actor, doing a lot of episodic television, a lot of sitcoms, a lot of soap operas, and spent 8 years on The Young and the Restless. And so that was fun. It was rewarding. And then one day somebody said to me, hey, if you think you can do this better yourself, why don't you just do it yourself? I don't know. I guess I was foolish enough to say, okay, I will. And so I started producing, which was the cerebral side of the business. And so I found that it's great to go back and forth between the cerebral side and then, of course, the entertainment side of things. So I get a kick out of it, and I'm still on camera quite a bit, and but mostly I'm producing and directing now in the undisputed entertainment capital of the world, right here in Las Vegas.
That's what I'm talking about, man. And let me tell you, just our experience together. That if you weren't there, man, everything, I believe, no disrespect to you, Aaron, I know you're watching this right now, but I think everything would have just fell to shambles. Just all of your expertise and your knowledge and the way that you conduct yourself in those high pressure situations, it's like, man, like you would have thought you've been doing it for 40 years or something. Now, there was one word that you taught me, and I'm pretty sure you remember this, but I would say, wow, like we have a problem right now. And you said, whoa, Dano, like, that's not the word and the terminology that you should use. Would you be able to fill in the people that are watching this right now? It's not really the word problem that you should use. What should you use instead? And how did you come up with that terminology?
Well, I think what you're referring to is, problem. The word problem basically means there's something taking place that has a bad outcome, if you will. It's a negative word, if you will. So I like to say, let's not call something like that a problem. Let's call it a challenge. Okay. And if we call it a challenge, then it's easy for us to get to a workaround. And that's the one thing that we try to do is figure, okay, there's more than one way to get from point A to point B. And if you just stop and think a little bit, you can usually come up with that workaround before it becomes a problem. And that's a lot of what we've done together in the time that we've known each other. But it's all about being in your place on the team. And so at one particular point in a session, Dano, you'll be the team leader. Next time it would be Aaron as a team leader. And then it might be I'm the team leader for whatever challenge it might be. So I think we have to look at it as nobody is necessarily more important than anybody else. we all are part of the team, and it takes that entire team to produce that Hollywood style show that we do. So we all walk away going, hey, we did the best of our job, and we all pitched in. And you may not score 15 points in that basketball game, but you scored those 4 crucial points that gave us that win. And that's what it's all about in our life as well.
See, what did I tell you guys? Did you just hear that answer that John gave, man? The weekend was just full of great information like that. So much learning, John. You're always willing to teach, and I feel like not a lot of people are really about that. They like to, there's a new term called gatekeeping, where they just keep all the information to themselves and they don't like to give it out. But even the first time that I met you, man, it was just like, hey, try doing this, this, and this, and you were just always just be so helpful and very knowledgeable, man. I just wanted to say thank you for that too. Just always from the beginning, always off the rip, you're always like that. Now you've produced and starred in over 1,500 shows, television shows, and international, everywhere. How many no's did you have to encounter in order to receive that first yes?
Well, a lot. And I tell people, you've got to kind of develop a little bit of a thick skin because you're going to encounter a lot of no's. And the thing that you have to understand is that when a producer or director basically says, or a casting director, after you read your lines or read your part, and they give you those inevitable words, we'll call you. Okay, you know that you didn't get the part. Okay, but you have to realize yourself, it's not that you didn't give a good read or that you weren't a good actor. You just may not be right for that particular part. And you have to understand that if you go in and you do a good job, there's a real good chance that casting director or that producer may call you back for another role, or you may not be right for that role, but they may realize that you're going to be right for a different role. And I'll give you a great example. So my agent, what happens in Hollywood is the producers put out on a system, not kind of like on the internet, if you will, the show that it is and the parts that are available for it. And it may say, white male police officer, and it'll give an age range, 45 to 65, if you will. And so you would go in and you would basically take that piece of paper, it's called a side, and you would read that with the casting director, and hopefully they would then call you back for another read with the director or somebody like that. So my agent calls me and sends me on this audition. So I walk into the audition, into the casting room, and there's about 50 little black boys that are standing in line. And so I get in the line, and everybody's kind of looking at me because obviously I probably didn't fit that part really that well. So I stayed in line, and then it came my time to walk in there, and I walked in, and the look on the face of the casting director was just priceless. And he said, what are you doing here? And I said, well, I understand that you're casting children, for an upcoming event. But I also noticed down at the bottom of that casting notice that you were looking for parents of those children. And the casting director went, we are. And he picked it up and looked at it. And sure enough, down at the bottom, it said, we're looking for parents of these children. And of course, being the only parent in the room, I ended up getting that part. So there's always a workaround to a situation. And that's one of my best workarounds that we had.
Man, that truly is amazing. And, I bet at a time like that, I'm not sure how long ago it was, but, if somebody were to see that, on television, I think that's breaking barriers, and that's kind of that inclusivity that we should all look for. It doesn't really matter about, the color of the skin of the parent and the child or anything like
Yeah.
that. I mean, as long as we see people for who they are, I think that's what we should be looking at, and now this is just always, I don't know how you do it. And this is truly is amazing. So I can't wait to hear for your answer right here. Even when during these live events, when the microphones will go out, or let's say there was something wrong with the camera, or audio was a huge issue, not issue, but a huge thing that I really don't know about. So it was kind of hard to adapt to the situation. During these high pressure situations, how do you always find a way to remain calm?
Well, I have to say I don't know that I was always calm, but I usually tell people that I'm working with, there's going to be a problem today. We just don't know what that problem is, so we have to be aware of it. But more so than that, being able to look at a situation and anticipate potentially what that problem might be, then you might be able to start solving that problem and have an answer before it actually turns into a challenge, not a problem. And so, but with me, people ask me, John, why are you such a good producer? And I tell them, because I've made every mistake that you can possibly make. And I've been fortunate enough to learn from those mistakes. So in many cases, when there is a challenge, I've probably already had that challenge before and already know how to fix that. And if you remember, all during that session that we were working together, I was pulling all of these tricks out of my hat. I had all this equipment in my car, and I tell people, hey, you can solve anything with a paper clip and a roll of duct tape. And that's what we did, didn't we?
Oh yeah, 100%. I kind of equate it to when you're I know for me, I can use this analogy. Well, let's say I'm food shopping before, I used to food shop with my mom, and I was little, let's just say I was 10, and we're right at the line, and everything's in the cart, and we're starting to load the stuff onto the conveyor belt, not conveyor belt, but to scan everything. And she goes, oh, well, hold on. I'll be right back. I need to go grab like a quick loaf of bread. And I'm just sitting there and I'm like, wait, where are you going? Like, I need you here. What if they ask me to pay? Like, all these different things could be going on. And that's how I equated that to you. I'm like, John, wait, you can't go to your car. This, and this can happen. Like, we need you here. But everything went smoothly. We have Aaron there too. Aaron's an expert in that stuff. But this is a perfect segue actually into my next question. Before we started the show, you were telling me about, a learning process and how to learn. So it's like you said before, when you fail in so many different things and you actually take that risk and you actually take on that challenge, you learn from it. So would you be able to explain a little bit about your learning process, whether it's, production or TV, and how it translates, into your life?
I'll kind of go back to my transition. I was a business major in school, and I ran businesses. And I got to thinking to myself, I can do this when I'm old. I want to find something that I can do that is going to be different every single day, something that's going to be fun, and something that I can do well into my elder years. I really didn't have an idea about that, but I was kind of a class clown, and would get in trouble, and things of that nature. And so I thought to myself, hey, why don't I go to Hollywood? And I lived in Southern California. So I drove a white Cadillac convertible at the time. So I took my scarf and I threw it around my neck. I put on my Ray-Bans and I drove into Hollywood, California, the bright lights of Hollywood, California. And I said to Hollywood, Hollywood, I'm here. And Hollywood said, so what? And that was my introduction. I didn't know really what I wanted to do, so I started doing everything. And I started taking a lot of classes. I started learning. And in our industry, you can take dramatic classes for theater. You can take dramatic classes for television and film. You can take comedy classes for stand-up. You can take classes to be a spokesperson for toothpaste. And you can take classes to be a runway model or to be a fashion model. And so I decided I would just start taking all of these classes. And that's what really showed me what I was good at and what I really wanted to do. And the things I was a little bit afraid of, I did more of those so I would feel more comfortable. And the definition of an actor is a person that is able to portray reality. So if you can't be real, be good enough to portray reality. And so if you're going to be a district court judge sitting at on a bench, you don't want to go in with that audition and start talking like Jerry Lewis in the thing and say, "Hi, I'm Jerry Lewis." And it's like, no, you got to know how to portray what that judge would be like and be able to adapt. If I didn't touch or get your complete answer, maybe I touched on it, and you can elaborate or ask me some more questions if you want.
Oh yeah, so it was just more about like the learning experience of what's the process for you? How do you take, what components do you take from a situation that you didn't really expect to turn out in what way, and how do you take that going forward?
Well, yeah, okay. Here's a good example. I was in Hollywood, and there's a paper in Hollywood, and it's called it's a casting newspaper, and it's got ads in there for all the parts and things that are looking for. And I saw an ad where a film producer was looking for an intern. And in our business, an intern basically shows up on the set and gets coffee and does nothing related to the industry, if you will. And so I didn't realize that. So I'm thinking, oh, this is great. I'm gonna go on this film, and man, I'm gonna be a director on a film, not realizing I'd never done that before. So I showed up, and the director says to me, so I said, "Okay, I'm ready. I'm here. What do you want me to do? What do you want me to do?" And he goes, "That parking lot that you walked in front of the studio." He says, "Yeah." And I said, "Yeah." He says, "There's all those piles of dirt and lumber and everything out in that parking lot. I want you to go and clean up that parking lot because we're going to need the parking for this film." So I went outside and I looked, and there was 4-foot high piles of dirt, and there was stacks and stacks of chopped up lumber and garbage and leaves and everything. So I thought, oh, all right, this is cool. So what do? I do what any person would do. I got on my phone and called my friends. And I said, "You guys get over here now and bring the pickup trucks." And so they all drove over there, and we scooped all the dirt up and got all the trash up and took it 2 or 3 loads to the dump. And this was at 8 o'clock in the morning when we started that. So then we broke for lunch about 12 o'clock. And so the director comes out, and the look on his face when I'm just standing there, and that entire parking lot was 100% spotless. Mm-hmm. And so everybody thought that was great. So he says, "Well, why don't you come on in and work with me on the set?" And I thought, aha, here's my break, So I go in, I'm standing next to the director. He goes, "John." I go, "Yes, sir." He goes, "Get me some coffee." And so anything you do, I say, do it the best you possibly can. Here's the moral of that story, Dano. They ended up needing to come back to that film, and they needed to take 20 minutes out of that film and reshoot another 20 minutes. I produced the 20 minutes of new footage that went in that feature film. So that's, you never know how it's going to happen for you at that particular time.
Yeah, I love that. So thank you for sharing that. So whoever needs to hear that, I always believe that any answer that's given on here, somebody somewhere needed to hear it because maybe they're going through it in their own life. And I'm just so glad that everybody's able to tune in and to be a part of this community that wants to be a part of something bigger than themselves and to spread the positivity for the right reasons. I'm going to ask you one more question only because we have to do a little word from our sponsors halfway through the show just to do a little break and then we'll reconvene. But there was one thing that you mentioned before in your story when you said, okay, I didn't know what I wanted to do. And I got into my Cadillac and I drove to Hollywood. There's a little space right there where I think people don't really have the courage to pursue what they want to do. How did you know that everything that when you close the door to the car and let's just say you put on the air conditioning, what gave you the strength to go pursue that? And how did you know everything was going to be okay?
I didn't know that it was going to be okay. And but I went into it with a positive attitude. And again, knowing that anytime you make a move or you make a switch, you've got to go into it with a positive attitude. And typically what you think is going to take place is 180 degrees out of phase of what is going to take place. So I always say, you've got to be able to pivot, and you've got to be able to pivot and go in a direction that this area that leads you in. And so in this particular case, I told myself I would give myself 4 years. If I didn't make it after 4 years, then I would look around for something else. And if I had to, I could always go back into business as well. And so I went to it with that attitude, and I was a sponge. I learned from everybody. And I studied, I talked to other actors and said, well, hey man, what did you do? And how did you get this? And how did you do that? And I started replicating a lot of things that people told me. So you got to be able to reach out and be humble and ask for help, because somebody's probably been there. They probably made mistakes, and you can always learn from them. But I think naturally, Dano, most people, they really do have it in their heart to help other people. And Hollywood being a little tough place because there's so much jealousy and there's so much dog eat dog going on and stuff like that. And I found that the bigger the star was, the greater they were, the more humble that they were, and the more they wanted to help you. And they're just regular people. And so I would politely ask them a question. In many cases, they would give me the answer, or they might say, "Hey, John, I'm in character now. I can't really talk to you, but I'm happy to give you a few minutes after we wrap today," and stuff like that. So nobody ever told me, "Go away, kid, you're bugging me." They were always pretty positive.
Yeah, and that's what I'm talking about. And I feel like a lot of people get intimidated just because somebody has a certain title or they've been doing it longer. So, I mean, just the fact that you actually had the courage in order to go and pursue what you knew to be true and what you knew that you wanted to do is amazing, because I feel like a lot of people don't have that courage nowadays. So everybody, if you're watching this, just look at John as an example of, if John can go out and just take a leap of faith, so can you. I mean, we're all meant to do great things on this earth, but we start to see different types of media and like our communities that we're around, and then we start to get knocked down a few pegs, and we don't really believe that what's meant for us is really meant for us. You think that it's meant, it's meant for this person, or no. So always have the confidence and believe in yourself to really do everything that you know to be capable of doing, because you never know where it can lead you. So that's just the first half. We're going to take a quick commercial break just to hear a few words from our sponsors. Don't go anywhere. Make sure you're sharing the stream, just because you never know who might need to watch this. And don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after a word from our sponsors. welcome back, everybody. That was just a quick word from our sponsors. Thank you for being here today. It's been 2 weeks. So, all this energy has just been building up and building up because I needed to be with my positivity posse. So, I just want to say thank you, John, and thank you, everybody, for being here today. So, let's jump right back into it. John, does the date November 22nd ring any bells to you?
A little bit, I think so. Yes. What a great honor and a great privilege. Yes.
So would you be able to what is November 22nd? Is that just any other day or is that a special day for you?
Well, it's the day that I actually send my laundry to the dry cleaner every year. So I was fortunate enough when I was I was bestowed the honor of it making that particular day Jon Fondy Day, and we did it twice. We did it not only in Palm Springs, but also we were given that honor of Jon Fondy Day also right here in Las Vegas for our work with our charity, and it was great to be recognized like that. So we kind of have a nice little celebration on in November and in December both.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. So I don't know if you guys just really heard what we just talked about, but on November 22nd, like you just said, there's a Jon Fondy Day. That is absolutely amazing. Would you be able to go into like the process of how that became, came to fruition?
Well, sure. So when I was given that honor, when I was in Palm Springs, I was living in Palm Springs at the time, and I basically was part of a celebrity tennis tournament. And the celebrity tennis tournament was designed to raise money and awareness for children's charities in the Palm Springs area. And so it was a national television show, and I happened to be a pretty good tennis player, so I got involved with the organization and ended up actually being one of the announcers on television because one of the announcers didn't show up, and so the actual actor who was the announcer on the show had never done that before. And so I was able to give him some pointers, and we were able to basically work through this potentially disaster of a live televised show. And so that's what the city of Palm Springs gave me because we made this television show happen and made it aware.
Wow.
And then in Las Vegas, by this particular time, I had been doing children's charities. I've done children's charities now for 40 years. I started with the March of Dimes and the City of Hope, which was cures cancer, and then I moved to Las Vegas, and I still worked with children's charities. And one day I decided, hey, I've been doing this long enough. I think I'm going to start my own charity, and that charity was to help children that were in the foster care system here in Las Vegas, meaning that something happened, their parents were killed or injured, or they got in trouble with the law and they were incarcerated. And so the children would go and stay in this area, this government-run, city-run area called Child Haven, and that's where they would live. They would go to school, and that's where they would lead their lives until they were able to either go live with relatives, or the mom and dad got their act cleaned up, or they got adopted into the foster care system. And so that particular charity is called Stars Among the Angels.
Wow.
And the reason it's called Stars Among the Angels was because I produced a variety show and I hosted the variety show. And Las Vegas has so many wonderful entertainers. At any given time, there's at least 100 shows on the Las Vegas Strip. So I would reach out to these entertainers and say, hey, would you come and perform for my children's charity? Because we're trying to raise awareness for Child Haven and the foster care community. So they would basically come and we would do a live television show with all these celebrities in Las Vegas. And so one day I'm doing the show and the band stopped the music, and the announcer said, John, could you turn around? And I turned around, and walking on stage was the mayor of the city of Las Vegas. And they presented me with a proclamation with Jon Fondy Day for my efforts to help raise the awareness of the children that have been touched by the foster care community. That's kind of the process.
Yeah, and that's absolutely amazing. I know a lot of people actually, that close to home that have been affected by the foster care system, and the resilience that they have to have in order to be able to push through that is absolutely amazing. I feel like they don't get the support that they need and deserve. So for you to go and help spread the awareness and to help the children that go through those very intense situations is amazing. What makes you want to give back to the community? Because you have all of your stuff, and you can just be like, okay, well, I'm just going to go now. I have all of my accolades, I have all of my money, and everything that you do have. What inspires you to give back?
Well, I tell people, be careful when you get involved in a charity, because you're going to find that in many cases you're getting more out of this opportunity than the children that you're actually serving. And I'll give you an idea. I was approached by the foster care community here in Las Vegas, and they said, would you be willing to put on a Christmas event for us? And I said, sure. They said, what are you going to do? I said, I have no idea. I said, but hey, I'll figure it out. So I went to the local theater here, and I asked them if they could play a children's movie for me. And then it happened to be in the Palms Casino, and they had a buffet there. And so I went and asked the buffet, told them I wanted to bring some foster children down. And they said, yeah. And I said, but I want to do something a little bit different. They said, what is it? I said, when you've got a foster family, you've got natural children of that particular family, and then you've got the foster children. And the foster children are always getting things like gifts and candy and clothes and toys and things of that way. And in many cases, the natural children sort of get left out a little bit. And sometimes it's hard for them to understand, like, hey, this person isn't even hardly in my family, and look at all they get. So I asked the hotel casino and the buffet and the theater, I said, can I invite the entire family to this event? And I told them why. And they said, what a great idea. Yes, we'd like to do that. So I got a Santa to come down. We all pitched in, and we went out and got a bunch of toys. So every child that came there got to go to a buffet, and many of them have never seen this much food. And they went, well, what should we eat? I say, hey, this may be the only time that anybody's ever going to tell you, go ahead and have dessert first if you want to. Yeah. And they screamed and yelled, and then Santa came in and
the buffets in Las Vegas. Sorry, I'm going to cut you off. The buffets in Las Vegas are legendary, right?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. They've got everything there. And so Santa came in, all the kids got a chance to get a toy from Santa. Then we went down to the theater, and I arranged for popcorn and pop for the kids. And this one little boy and his brother were standing there, and they had a box of popcorn, and they had a Coke. And I said to the one kid, I said, hey, where's your popcorn and where's your Coke? And he said, oh, I've never had my own popcorn and my own Coke. I always have to share with my brother and sister. I said, my little brother, we're going to change that right now. Turn him around in line. He got his own popcorn. He got his own Coke. And it was an awesome experience for him. And when you walk out of something like that, I'll tell you, it's hard not to come back and want more.
Yeah. And wow, wow, truly touching story. I can only imagine the thousands of kids that have to experience that. But those are impressions that you're leaving on these kids forever. They'll never forget that. That was their first time and their first experience. Like you were saying before, you always remember your first. So, John, speaking of young, let's just talk about the young community for a second. If there's somebody watching this right now, and they're a young actor, or that maybe they have no experience at all, what type of advice would you be able to give to them to maybe say, I told you, John. Look, I'm not the only one saying it. You are a legend, John. I told you. You guys probably don't even know this, but in my phone, I have him saved as Jon Fondy Legend. So I said the same thing. You're so right. If there's an actor right now that's watching this and they don't know where to begin in the world of Hollywood, or let's just even say TV production, what advice would you be able to give to them to start off?
Well, I think if they want to be an actor, it's like anything else. It's like if you want to have a healthy, toned, ripped, lean body, you got to go to the gym every single day. If you want to lose that beer gut, you've got to change your eating and drinking habits if you want to. And it's the same thing, no matter what you're going to do, is that you have got to train, you've got to train, and you've got to train. If you are going to learn martial arts, you've got to train every single day, because you never know when you're going to be surprised, and it's got to be second nature to you. So no matter what it is, I say do it more often, and when you're done doing it, do it again. And you may not know why you're doing it, but learn as much as what you can. It's a little different, I didn't have a calculator when I was young. I had to use an abacus, and now we've got the internet, and so it's very easy to learn. And if you want to be, and we'll just say if you want to be an actor, stay off of the video games. Don't sit down and watch television and soap operas and stuff like that. Always learn your craft. Always be in a class and go volunteer. Go to a theater and say, hey, I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll sweep this theater every night if you'll give me one line in your play. And so just keep working and keep working out is really what I tell people. And then when you think you understand it and you know it, start over again and do it all over again is what we say. And I also say, find something that you like. If you find something that you like, you'll never work a day in your life. And don't be afraid to go and volunteer. Be a volunteer, because you're going to get that good experience, just like what happened to me. Here's a great story for you. I don't know. Well, of course, I didn't tell you this story.
I'm ready to hear it.
I was in an acting class where actors had to become directors and directors had to become actors. And it was taught by a legendary director. And after I'd gone through the class, he said, hey, tell you what, you're serious about this business. You want to continue with the business? And I said, yes, sir, I do. And he goes, be in my office tomorrow morning at 6:00. I said, okay, gives me his card. So I put the card in my pocket. I drive home. I pull it out that day. And he's the director for The Young and the Restless.
Huh.
So I show up at 6:00 in the morning. I go to his office. He takes me over to the executive producer of Young and the Restless. He says, this is Jon Fondy. He is your next intern. And the executive producer said, that's great. What do you want to do with your life? I said, sir, I want to be in the business, but I'd like to start out being an actor. And he goes, great. See that pile of scripts? I'm thinking to myself, yeah, read these scripts, baby. Read these scripts. He goes, go to deliver those to all the actors and report back here. For 6 months, I showed up every morning at 6:00 for no pay, delivering scripts and doing all kinds of things of that nature. Then I had a nightclub act, and I would go work my nightclub act in the evening. And one day, the casting director came up, threw a script down on my desk. He said, John, I like your work. You're in. I was on Young and the Restless for 8 years in Hollywood.
That's what I'm talking about. Yeah.
All that.
Yeah. And I don't understand why people need to hear this, but I'm going to say it again. 2 weeks ago, actually, David Barterman was on the show, and this is one of his main points of emphasis. and I think you can actually agree on this, is that you need to stop putting a dollar amount or a dollar value on people. Just because somebody, like, for you, let's just use your example. You didn't go in there thinking, okay, how can I get money from these people? How can I get opportunities? You treated people the way that they wanted to be treated, and you were always of service to everybody too. And a lot of people think that you can't be of service. Like, you have to go in there and get something in return in order for there to be worth your time. And I'm just so happy that you shared that story, because it always drives home that point of, number one, not everything is about the money, first and foremost, and number two, always being of service to other people. And I love that story. Truly is amazing.
And you're so true. The thing is when you go and you do a volunteer a situation like that, look for what is going to be value that you could take away from it. It's definitely not money. And I always say, if you do the job and you do the best job that you can do, the money will always follow behind. And that's been my philosophy my whole life. And I have never been wrong. Now, there's been some crooks out there, I have to agree, but for the most part, I've never been wrong. The money always follows. And in many cases, much, much more blessed than you think you would be by having that attitude.
That's what I'm talking about. And here's another version of it: get the service first, all will follow. So, money and opportunity. So all will follow thereafter.
I like Jeanette. She chimes in at the right time, doesn't she?
Oh yeah, every time. One of the probably top, between her and Lewis, I mean, number one supporters of the show, and I really do appreciate it. As long as, as with everybody else, so I really do appreciate it. And there was one thing, you've been giving me the perfect segues to these questions that I have. I mean, whether it's coming up on the spot, but this one actually, is kind of different from all the other ones that I wrote. So here it is. Earlier you were saying, hey, before I had to use an abacus, and now we all have calculators on our phone. So what do you think, Jon, about the speed of technology? Because you do work with it on a day-to-day basis. Do you think that the speed of technology is going too fast, or do you think it's just right?
Well, no, I don't think it's going too fast. But again, like I talked about being able to pivot, like I did. I started out in the days of the abacus, but I evolved, into the different phases of technology and stuff. And I think that's what it is you have to be open to it and be able to evolve. Now, I won't necessarily evolve into every single thing that there is out there, because I just don't have the time. But the knowledge I've always been open to learning something new, and that's what's been able to keep me top of mind. I may be a little bit slower than some of the people like yourself, but hey, I'll get there eventually. And so for instance, crypto has been around, for a while now, and I didn't quite understand it, but I thought, well, let's let this crypto thing kind of play itself out and see what it's going to be like. And so most recently, this year, I decided I would get into crypto. And so I'm learning about that. So always trying to get out of your comfort zone a little bit and try to learn something. And if it's not right for you, you move on to something else. And that's what I encourage people to do is do something a little uncomfortable every now and then. And it's going to build your confidence level up a lot.
Yeah, and I think with that adaptability, that's how it keeps you in the game. What they say, survival of the fittest. And fittest doesn't always have to be, physically fit too, but mentally you have to be where you need to be in order to stay at the top of your game. Now, Jon, we only have a few minutes left on the show for today, and I always love to close the last question out the same way every single time. And I think it might be the most important question that I ask. I love to hear about your experience, but this to me is why the main point of the show is to help other people in their time of need. So here we go. There's a lot of information is going to be rushing through your head, but I know you're going to pick the right one. If there's somebody watching this right now who is going through their deepest, darkest time, and they need maybe some advice or some way to pull themselves out of what they're going through, what is the single best piece of advice that you can give to that person that's watching right now?
Well, I think the fact is, I mean, I speak from experience, and there's some days when you just feel like you're as down as you possibly can go. Well, look at the benefit. The greatest thing about being down as you possibly can go is it can't get any worse. Okay. And then what you have to do is you have to put that hand up there and climb up to that next step. Now, you may just go up to that next step for 2 or 3 days, but when you go up to the next step, it's all in little bites. And the fact of the matter is you can't make your second $1 million until you make your first. So concentrate on these little steps. Do something positive every single day. It may just be a baby step, but do something positive, and those positive steps are going to get a little bit better, a little bit better, a little bit better, and you're going to look behind you. You're going to go, that was pretty stupid. I can do this, man. I got this. And remember, don't do it alone. Have somebody around you. We all need that support group, and we all need to know it. We're not going to get there tomorrow, but if you take those baby steps and you do something positive, so if you do 10 things that are negative every day, tomorrow do 9 things negative and 1 thing positive. The next day, 8 things 2, 7 things 3, so on and so forth. You'll be up there to 10 things positive, 1 thing negative, and you'll be on your way. You'll never look back.
That's what I'm talking about. And I love that. I love that. I love that. A lot of people like to take off, they like to bite off more than they can chew. And I always say, I really love this saying, is that if you get, all you need is 1% better every day. Because if you do 1% better than what you were yesterday, in the course of a year, what do you have? 365% better than when you started. And that's only 1%. I feel like we can always, strive to do a little bit more, maybe 2 or 3. But in worst case, even just 1% is going to take you to that next level. And there's actually a picture that I want to show before we get off the show. It's perfect to what you just said. I'm not even sure if I still have it on here. I'm pretty sure I do. I don't really delete anything. Here it is. Yeah, here it is. Day by day, nothing changes. But when you look back, everything is different. And I think that kind of is like hit the nail on the head and exactly what you said. So that's one of the things that I've seen before. And it really did truly change my life. So just because things aren't moving in, drastic measures right away doesn't mean that they're not moving at all. John, if somebody wanted to reach out to you, maybe they have some questions or, maybe some advice or, an autograph, whatever it may be, where would they be able to reach you at?
Well, I would suggest they go to the Las Vegas Television Network.com.
Mm-hmm.
The Las Vegas Television Network.com. You'll get to see our actual 24/7 Las Vegas Television Network. It's all Vegas all the time. And of course, you can write a message there. It'll come to my business email. I'm all over social media, so you guys can find me on social media. LinkedIn is a great place to find me as well. I've got a social media team that handles everything for me, but I actually handle my own LinkedIn account. So that's a good way. And sometimes, just taking a minute and reaching out and kind of, being an email buddy every now and then. I love meeting new people. I'll take every meeting I possibly can, because you may come to me and say, John, I want to come to you and talk to you about producing a television show. And when it turns out you walk out of here and you've just given me a great deal on a used car. Who knows what's going to happen? But if I wouldn't have taken the meeting, I wouldn't have got the great deal on the used car. So always be open, look for the positive in life, and meet some new people and add some fingers to the friends you can count on your hand as well.
That's what I'm talking about. So I hope you guys had an amazing time today. I know I did. I thought, after reading the bio, I thought I knew everything that John was going to say or maybe had to say. And John, you completely blew it out of the water today. I told you I was excited for this, and I knew it was because this show was going to be amazing. And I really do appreciate your time again. So if you're watching this right now, I want to say thank you to the Positivity Posse. Thank you, John, for all coming together for today to be a part of something that is greater than ourselves, and to take all this positive energy and to go spread it into the weekend, into the week, and just to go change the world, because right now we all know we need it most. And I'm just so happy that I'm able to have this for you, and for everybody. I just, oh, I hit the wrong thing. Sorry about that. I'm just so honored and blessed and humbled to be able to do it. So everybody, if you're watching this, come back next week for another episode of Weekly Dose of Dano TV. We have a great guest coming on, and I just want to say, John, thank you again for everything, and I hope everybody has a great weekend.
Thanks so much.
Thank you so much for being here, everybody. I'll see you next week on another episode of Weekly Dose of Dano TV. Let's go!